Hi, it's Howard from HMB Music. I'm going to continue the series of home recording in this section by looking at the bass. Now here's a track that I've produced for my last album, Proxima B. I'll run the track with just the drums at the beginning. So I've got a basic drum beat there. Now what I decided to do for this track is to add 3 bass lines to really give a very punchy bass, because bass is actually really important, particularly in dance music, but also in lots of kinds of pop music. It often locks in with the drums as part of the background to the track, so you shouldn't neglect it. Now what I used to do was use a single bass line, usually bass guitar, but what I've started to do is add additional bass lines to give more warmth and depth to the bass. And in this case I've got a bass guitar as the beginning sound. I'm going to put that in now and you'll hear what that does. So that's a bass guitar. Turn the volume up a little bit. Now on its own that's not bad, but what I've done is added a second bass, which is a different instrument. It's a synth bass along with the bass guitar. So let's hear those two together. The synth bass on its own. Now what's interesting is that the synth bass is playing an octave lower and it's a little bit in the background, but what it's doing is adding extra depth to the sound. The next thing I did was add a third bass, and this third bass is actually a piano, but played obviously in the deep part of the piano sound. And again, it adds additional depth. So the 3 together give a really strong bass. Now what you can do is you can have a second bass which is an octave apart from the first one. Of course you can play the same notes as the bass guitar, or you can have different notes. It doesn't have to be the same. The other thing you can do is you can use instruments like I've done, the piano, to give a different sound rather than a bass guitar or a synth bass guitar. And in this case piano, you could use harpsichord, you could use organ, or you could use a synthesizer with a square wave to give extra oomph to the bass sound. Some of those effects could be subtle in the background and it just gives a much more powerful bass. The other thing you can do is you can put those bass sounds across the stereo in order to separate them sonically. Some to the left part of the stereo, some to the right hand side, and maybe some more towards the middle. So by spreading the bass sounds out, you create this whole landscape of bass guitar sound or bass sound. I hope that's a useful few tips for you on creating the bass. Obviously you can play the bass guitar live with an instrument, or in my case, because I'm not really a bass player, I've actually played it on a keyboard.